All right, we are back with the 134th edition of the Quarantinecast. I'm really, really excited for this one. I am joined by UFC Featherweight Darrick Minner. Without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. Hey, man, how's it going?
What's up, man? How are you?
Not too bad. First things first, I kind of want to talk about 2021. A lot of people had a rough 2020 with the pandemic. Obviously, fights got canceled. You had a successful 2020, but for the most part, it was rough outside of the MMA. So kind of talk about what it's like now, 2021, new chapter, new page. How good does it feel to kind of turn the page in the book?
Man, first off, 2020 was probably one of the best years of that I've had, man. Besides the bullshit with the mask and all that stuff. I mean, man, I had a daughter in April, like right when the stuff started. So like the quarantine, like when everybody was kind of calming down and like all this BS was going on and stuff, we were gonna be inside chilling anyway. Like I still went and trained, I still went and did all that, and yeah, man, I signed with UFC right before that, and then I picked up my first UFC win, and yeah, man. It wasn't all that bad for me, besides like getting yelled at all the time because I don't wear a mask and all that stuff. Other than that, like life is good. Now we're hitting 2021, and I have my first 8-week camp down here, Glory MMA, and with James Krause and the team down here. And yeah, man, I'm about to pick up my first win and then go from there. Gonna roll them out.
It's kind of funny because when you think about it, the entirety of her life has been in a pandemic. Like it's so weird to think about it like that. Like she has no idea what it's like to not be in a pandemic, which is very unusual.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're no like I don't know what I don't really care what anybody else believes or whatever. Like I don't go. We don't go to the stores, and I don't put a mask. Like I'm just not. I'm not like conditioning my kid to do the witness people in masks and stuff. Like I don't wear masks. Like I don't. I believe my immune system and how I eat and how I treat my body is gonna take over if I'm completely healthy and my family's completely healthy. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, I mean, she definitely right away though. It was different because of the fact that like we were kind of weird just because we didn't really know what was going on. We had a newborn. We have a 4-year-old at home too, and it's just like when our first event that we had to go to, it was my girlfriend Jordan's brother's diaper keg, and as this was the first event that she like had seen a bunch of people, and we walked in and she was like. And then she just started screaming and like she's the best baby in the world, but like this is the first time she started freaking out. And, like then she got calm and she was good from there. But like the first like 10 minutes was rough.
Yeah, it would be too, because I mean, especially if you've been bubbling with like not many people, she might see a new face every once in a while. I can imagine how overwhelming that would have been.
Oh yeah, it was we were like, what the hell is going on? But now she doesn't give no F's, man. So yeah, it's cool.
I want to talk about the news that was announced a little while ago. Is you've got a big fight. It's just over a week now, which is it's coming up pretty quickly. So,
Yep.
what's it like to know you've got a fight coming up? And talk about the matchup and your thoughts on Charles Rosa.
Man, this is the most prepared I've been, man. I've had a lot of experience. I've had a lot of fights. Usually short notice. Both my UFC fights. One was on 8 days notice when I made my debut, and then the other one was 3.5 weeks notice. So I have my first 8-week camp under James Krause and Glory MMA, and man, I couldn't ask for a better coach and a better team to surround myself with in preparation for this fight, and. Yeah, man, matchup with Charles Rosa, he's super tough. You know, he's been in the UFC for a while. Um, yeah, I mean, he's a tough kid. I love the matchup though, man. We absolutely love the matchup, and yeah, I pick up my first win come Saturday, February 20th. So, and it'll be 1 year from the time I signed my UFC contract, and yeah, I'll be 2-1 in the first year.
Yeah, that's actually kind of awesome that it's a year exactly. At this point, you're a little over a week out. So, what's your routine like? A week and 2 days away from the fight.
Man, today this morning we had hard drilling, hard rounds. Tonight we had drilling on our feet and hard stand up sparring, 5 rounds. It'd be probably my last hard sparring on our, rounds on our feet, but yeah, I still go hard all week. We'll go hard, and we'll finish this camp out strong. And then next week we kind of, that's when we start calming it all down and going from there. But it's a lot more. Next week's a lot chiller than this week will be.
Does it feel like there's less pressure on this fight as there was on the Laramie fight because you're coming off a win? Obviously, starting 0-2 in the UFC would have been much different than a 1-1. Do you feel like win or lose, you guaranteed? So do you feel like there's a little bit less pressure going into this fight?
Man, it is what it is, man. I've done everything I can to prep for this fight, and so the outcome will be what it will be. It'll be with me having my hand raised, but I don't know about less pressure, man. I've been in this game a long time, man. The pressure's on him. I'm the guy that's 1-1 in the UFC, although I have way more experience than him. And I've fought just as tough with guys outside the UFC as he is inside the UFC, and definitely outside the UFC, he's fought nobody. The pressure's on him. Everybody knows his name. Everybody knows that, I'm 1-1, and everybody thinks this and that, but we're gonna go in and surprise a lot of people, and I'm just gonna, go in there and do my thing. I don't know about pressure because I've been at this game a long time. It's not really pressure anymore. It's just what I do.
This has to be familiar too, especially with the Laramie fight. You were a heavy underdog going into that one, which was very surprising. I was like, he's got 30 fights. Laramie's new to it. Obviously, being Canadian, I knew damn well what Laramie was capable of doing, but you proved a lot of people wrong in that fight as well. How good did it feel to get that first UFC win?
Man, that fight, there being plus 330. I mean, as I've told everybody, it was just outright disrespect. I've been at this game a long time. I'm 30 years old. He's a younger kid. He's not like he's fought some tough competition, but I get that I was an underdog, but that was pretty steep, and that kid's going to be good, man. That kid's going to be, he's going to mark his territory in the UFC, I believe. But yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with that, but yeah. So yeah, where were we talking about real quick? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's like, how good did it feel to get your first win in the UFC?
Yeah, man, like I said, that was 10 years building up. I stepped in the ring on no training ever, my first amateur fight, and I walked out of that ring after 2 minutes of being in there and said, I will be in the UFC one day and I will win fights in the UFC one day. It's been my goal since May of 2010. So yeah, man, it was a relief, man. It was relief of one, proving all the doubters wrong. My whole life I've been doubted about a lot of things, and proving all the people right too. Everybody, I've had a lot of people believe in me along this journey, and still to this day believe in what we're doing. And yeah, man, it was a sigh of relief that everything wasn't just for nothing, I guess you could say. For one, getting the UFC call was that relief. Again, the win was a whole nother just satisfaction, and I just, it was cool. It was awesome for a week. And then I got back to the board and I want more. I want more wins. I want more money. I want more bonuses. And yeah, so that's what we're going for.
You talked a little bit about your journey. I mean, your journey to the UFC is different than a lot of people because there's a lot of ups and downs. You had losses, you had tribulations, you faced hurdles. How did it feel seeing the guys that had beaten you, like Herbert Burns, make it to the UFC? Was it a little bit frustrating? And did you know throughout the entire time, doesn't matter how many losses I have, I'm going to reach the UFC?
I mean, it's frustrating and not really seeing a guy that beat me because what can I say? Well, what could I say about Herbert Burns getting signed? I mean, granted, you go look at all my losses. I mean, the majority of those fights, 95% of those, I was controlling the whole fight and I get caught, and, even Herbert, I was beating him up a little bit and all. I'd be lying to say that the goal, the mindset was always like, hell yeah, I'm making it no matter what happens. Because, when you're sitting, always before the contender series, that's where my mindset was. It was like, jump on board, let's go. We need another fight. You know, if I take a loss, but look at my losses. They're all against Kevin Kroom, Grant Dawson, Herbert Burns, Luke Sanders, guys like that. Early in my career, I lost to some bums just from mental mistakes. But, you know, I fought the who's who outside the UFC that most of them are in the UFC. And after fighting Herbert, man, it was kind of one of those things that I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to make it to the UFC because I felt like that was my shot. Not many people get in the UFC at the type of record that I had, you know, or have. I was 22-10 after that loss. And I didn't know where I was going. And then we got the call to fight another Contender Series guy, Terrence McKinney, right after that fight. And I was like, well, one last run, let's see how it happens. And it's crazy, man. I was injured that whole camp. And I was like, man. And I went in there and I got submission real quick. And then we rattled off another win. And then, yeah, here we are. We getting the call on 8 days notice. It was pretty insane, man. But yeah, it's definitely always been the goal, but I would be lying if I said that I've always been like, yeah, I'm getting to the UFC because, you know, the year before the UFC was kind of rocky.
Two of those names that you mentioned, Grant Dawson and Kevin Kroom, are people you currently train with. Was that one of the reasons why you ultimately decided to go to Glory?
Man, I've always wanted to be learn from James Krause. I've always wanted to pick his mind because I've always heard how great of a mind he was in the MMA game. But it ultimately wasn't the fact that like I fought their guys. Man, I fought 4 of the guys that are down here. So, you know, I was always fighting their guys. So, and my teammates back home were always fighting their guys. So it's like, man, I never really thought that that's where I'd be. But what had happened was TJ Laramie was training with my team in Vegas that I go out there and I train with, and I used to go out there and I stay with Tim and Gina, Tim Elliott and Gina Mazzani, and I would go out there and I'd stay with them and have camp. You know, it'd be 2, 3, 4 week camp or whatever, and he was training out there with those guys, so I didn't know what I was gonna do, and then my coach out there was kind of like, man, like I don't really want you to take that fight. I don't want to, but I like the matchup. And I was like, man, I don't know. And then I called randomly, was like, hey, James, hit me up. And me and my manager discussed it. We hit up James, and James talked to the crew, and they invited me down here, and it couldn't have been a better decision. Now, you know, Tim and Gina are back here, and so it kind of worked out pretty well there too. So, yeah, man, that's pretty much how it happened and went down. And then I think about it, and it's like, man, I fought. He's game playing for me how many times? You know, he obviously knows me in and out, so might as well learn from the guy. And yeah, it was a great decision.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a mastermind. I've spoken to him as well, and one of the things that he said is he's very picky with who he picks. And I'm glad that you were able to make it there because, like you said, he knows you inside out and backwards from coaching against you, and it's better to have someone like that in your corner than in the other corner.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And you know, and the hype is real, you know, and this team down here is gonna really, you know, it's already making an impact in the UFC, but in the next couple of years, it's really gonna be interesting to see where this gym's at and the guys are at that are down here, guys and gals. So, yeah, man, and all the up and comers and stuff. He's definitely building something great.
Am I mistaken for saying you've actually moved? You've completely moved there now. You're there for the entire camp.
Yep. Yeah, I'm here. Yep. So what happens is I still live in Omaha.
Yeah.
And I drive down here Monday morning. I leave my house around 6:45, get here around 9:40, and I have practice at 9, and I'm here all week. So, and then I go home either Friday night or Saturday morning.
Oh wow! So it's like you're just home on the weekends type thing.
Yeah, right now, and so yeah, sacrifice from all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I want to talk about James Krause, someone I've spoken to before, someone just like you, I've always thought he was one of the best masterminds in the sport. What's it been like in the short time that you've been with him? What's the biggest lesson?
The biggest lesson, man, I don't know if it's a lesson. I'm just learning every day. Like, it's not over. The learning process isn't over when you have somebody like that. Like, he's definitely completing my game, you know, like before it would be I'd rush in and like we'd see how the fight goes. Now my fight IQ is growing day by day here, and I think that's the biggest thing. But man, I learned so much still, and I've been at this game a long time, and just having a coach that can still relate and teach you and do all that, because he knows exactly, when he started out, it was and brought up, they trained exactly like how I used to train. It was like, okay, we just go in and we balls to the wall, and that's how you train. But so we can relate on that aspect, because I've definitely been at this game a long time too. So yeah, man, that's pretty much the biggest thing, is that's the process of learning still, enjoying the process is another one, and raising your fight IQ and all that stuff. It's definitely fun again.
I'll ask you a couple more questions and then I'll let you go. One thing I noticed, I was just scrolling through your Tapology and looking at some stuff, and one of the things is, am I mistaken for thinking you've primarily competed in the United States? Like, you've never competed abroad?
I fought one time in Canada.
Is that with Fight Island and all this stuff going on? Is that something you'd be open to, or are you happy just fighting in the U.S.?
Man, I had a good system when I was coming up. I was signed with RFA at the time and LFA, and then they allowed me to take fights outside because they couldn't keep me as busy as I wanted to keep. So, like you look at my first year as a pro, I fought 7 times, I think 4 to 7 times every year. And so like, that's how busy I wanted to be. And that's how busy I continue to want to be. So my manager ran a show, and so we'd bring in tough guys there. And then LFA would put me on their shows, so RFA, whatever it was. So we had a good little system. So it never really worked out. But I'm completely cool with fighting in Vegas right now. Like, I mean, I want to experience like, going over like Australia or wherever. But like, I don't want to go to Fight Island and fight because of all the bullshit you have to come with it. You have to fly to Vegas, quarantine for 2 days, an 18-hour flight, quarantine for 2 days, and then you got fight week. You got like, I would go insane. I just don't think that's how it. I mean, will I? Yes, I will. I mean, I'll fight. Wherever, but it's just a preference. Going to the Apex, I'm familiar with there. I've fought there, a couple times, and yeah, man, it just works out, and I'm completely cool with that.
All right, I'll ask you one last question, and then I'll let you go. There's a big fight this weekend, UFC 258, and I can't go without asking your prediction. Who do you think is going to win that, Gilbert Burns or Kamaru Usman?
Man, I'm fucking so excited for that fight. I'm going with my man Usman. Can't go against he wrestled at UNK, which is in Nebraska. He was teammates with my boys like Joe Ellenberger and guys like that. So, and the dude's freaking good, man. And you can't root against you can root, a lot of people root against him, but like nobody's done it yet. You know what I mean? And I thought Colby was going to be the next guy, but I'm going with Usman. Can Burns do it? Yeah, but I think it's going to be in rounds 1 or 2. I think if it goes past 1 or 2, I think Usman's got him.
And is there anybody you'd like to thank or any sponsors you'd like to plug before we end this?
Man, I definitely just want to give a shout out to all my, fans, my family, my sponsors, my support system, my team here at Glory, my team up at Premier Combat Center, my coaches, my girlfriend who holds down the fort where I'm at when I'm at home, So, yeah, I mean, I got a good support system. I got a lot of people back me. I got a lot of sponsors. So we'd be here all day. So, but yeah, I appreciate you, man.
All right, thank you very much for the time. It's a week out, and all the best, man. I can't wait to watch you go out there and perform.
Thanks, my man. Have a good day.
Man. Stay safe. There you go, Darrick Minner. He's got a big fight next week. He's fighting Charles Rosa. Be sure to tune in for that one. It's happening at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. And if you guys haven't, be sure to, one second here, like, comment, and subscribe.